Name's Sam from Wimmera, Mallee, and welcome to a Headspace session today. It's just an important notice for everyone attending. All our seminars are moderated and supervised by me. Behaviour deemed unacceptable by the moderator will result in removal. Unacceptable behaviour includes, but is not limited to, bullying, attempts at disruption, inappropriate questioning or chat, and the sharing of images or personal information. This webinar is automatically recorded with strict adherence to privacy principles set out by the Privacy Act and the Department of Education's Child Safe Regulations. Any identifiable or personal information will be removed prior to the distribution or promotion of content. Information on Wimmera Southern Malleeland's Child Safe Policy can be found at wimmeraSouthernmalleeland.com.au. Before we start, we always acknowledge the traditional owners of all the different Aboriginal countries each of us is viewing in from today, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, future and emerging, and welcome any Aboriginal people that may be present here today. So I'll throw over to Louise and Khan from Headspace.
Lovely, thanks Sam. I'll start introduce myself. I'm Louise. I'm from the Headspace Horsham Centre. Some of you may recognise me. I get out and about to schools, been on a roadshow, so you may have seen me at your school. And I'll just quickly introduce Khan. Khan, you're coming from?
I'm coming to you today from Wurundjeri country of the Kulin Nation, that is Footscray in Melbourne, where it is reasonably sunny but fairly cold. And I am the service coordinator for Headspace's work and study team.
Awesome. So I'll have a little chat first and then we'll throw over to Khan, and Khan will have a little bit of a chat about his program. So if you don't know, I'll just fill you in. Headspace Horsham is at 71 Hamilton Street in Horsham, and we offer free support to young people aged 12 to 25. Headspace was founded to help young people who are going through a tough time back in about 2006. And here at Headspace Horsham, we support you with free counselling and advocacy work here. So we support mental health, physical health, sexual health, work and study, alcohol and other drug support, and just any general life stuff that you might be happening for you. We also have a GP who started on board here at our centre, which is fantastic. So that may be news to some of you. Not only do we support in centre, we also support maybe at your school. So we have the telehealth setup, which is the computer screen, which is a wonderful way that you can connect kind of like this via a secure Skype style thing, and that you can connect with the counsellors here at Headspace Horsham. We also have a youth reference group here at Headspace Horsham as well. This is a wonderful way if you're thinking about social work or psychology as a career path. We have a youth reference group that meet here once a month, and they just keep us youth informed. So they let us know what's going on and making sure that what we do here is appropriate for young people. And they have great input into organising events and informing us, applying for funding, planning fundraisers, and just general participation in the overview of the centre. So as I said, we are at Hamilton Street. Feel free to drop in anytime. If you're filling in time and you're in town and you just want to head into the centre, we do have a chill out space. There's a PlayStation there, colouring, bean bags, yeah, just any reason, Milo, toasty, just wanting to fill in time while you're in town, check it out. So that's a little bit about Headspace Horsham. And one of the wonderful services about being in the Headspace network is there's other opportunities to connect in with the national programs that we have. So that's why I've invited Khan along, and Khan's going to talk about the digital work and study program. Thanks, Khan.
Thanks, Lou. I'm going to share my screen because I have a very brief presentation. But I tell you what, all I can think about now is toasted sandwiches. So I reckon I might have to pop up to Horsham to take you up on that offer at some point if that's open to people like me as well too.
Absolutely, a bit of a Milo. We look after the family and friends as well here.
Love it, absolutely love it. So hi everyone, and thanks to Lou and the Len and to everyone for being here. I'm going to talk fairly briefly today about the program that I work in as part of Headspace, but I'll just run through a couple of slides really quickly. So as Lou's already talked about, we're both here representing the fantastic organisation that is Headspace, and I'm not going to spend too much time going through the vision and mission because I feel like Lou's already covered that off. But I guess the other point that Lou mentioned was that in addition to all of the fabulous work that's done in the centres across the country, there's a whole range of programs that are provided by the national office. So your online counselling support through things like eHeadspace, some fantastic support for young people, irregardless of where they live. But obviously, the reason that we're here today is to talk about the work and study program. So in a nutshell, our program is there to support young people who are between 15 and 25 years of age to think about career, employment opportunities, or work towards further education. And so our program is fairly unique in the way that we deliver it in terms of the way that we engage with young people is entirely through online platforms. But look, what I'll do is rather than me rabbit on, I'm going to play you a really quick video which will give you a bit of an idea about the service, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So here is the part where we test whether the technology is going to work well for us. Well, that's always a good start. So no matter how many times we test these things,
It doesn't work. It doesn't work on play day.
oh, and they're so much more engaging.
Yeah.
Better looking.
Us talking.
So I guess the show must go on. So that was just a very brief promo for our service that tells you a little bit about it. What I might do is send the link through to Sam, and he can include that in the recording of the video. But apologies about that, everyone.
I can try and get it up on my side if you like, Khan. Just so we can play it at the end if you like, or
that'd be fantastic, mate. Thank you very much for that. So what I will do is just run you through the program basics, and I'd be really keen to have a bit of a conversation if there's any questions afterwards as well too. So as I mentioned, the criteria for our service is for young people who are between 15 and 25 years of age, and so the kind of key tenets of the service is that it is personalised. So it is a one-on-one support program where young people are linked up with a work and study specialist in a bit of a case management style arrangement. And so young people primarily engage with our service for a period of 3 months, where the young person will come together with the worker and will look at the goals that they're hoping to achieve and plan a little bit of a pathway to get to that outcome. Being part of the Headspace family, as Lou was saying before, one of the other benefits of our program is that it is clinically integrated. And so that means when we're working with young people who are really struggling with some barriers to engaging with work and study, and particularly around having some issues with their mental health and their well-being, we have got clinicians on site that are able to support my team to be able to provide that support to young people. So we know that your mental health can be a real barrier to accessing employment. So if you can be accessing the support, be that through a centre like Horsham up there where Lou is, or working with my team with the support of some other clinical advisors as well too, we're able to provide that holistic support to young people. The other thing about our service is it's absolutely voluntary. So no one participates in our service without it being led by them, and it's something that they're really passionate about. So that's a kind of real key. the approach that we do when working with young people is very much a strengths-based approach. And so that's about supporting people to find the areas that they have skills. And sometimes we're our own worst enemy at being, you know, critical on ourselves and burying those skills and abilities that we do have. So I have a really fantastic team of specialists that have a whole range of different strategies to help to show young people the skills that they do have and to really be able to build on those to be able to get a good outcome. In terms of the criteria for our service, unlike lots of other services when it's based on, you know, you have to be on this kind of payment or you have to have this sort of diagnosis or a mental health care plan, our service is very, very relaxed in that respect. And so young people who are engaged with Headspace already or are having, you know, facing some barriers to accessing employment and training, as long as they're within our age range, young people are going to be eligible for the service. And the final point, and I already touched on this a minute ago, is that our service is 100% delivered remotely. So it doesn't matter whether you live in Horsham, whether you live in Hawthorne, whether you live in Alice Springs. The primary means of doing work is either via the telephone, via web chat, or via video chat. And so we're all becoming increasingly used to being, you know, doing service and doing business via Zoom these days. And so that's been really, really lovely for, for us to be able to provide those options to young people, because we know whether they're, you know, living in a rural or regional area or have some other kind of factors in their life that is, you know, isolating them and preventing them from being able to come into a centre or to a service, we're able to continue to provide that sort of support through any of the means that I've just mentioned. Excuse me. I get this nervous cough whenever I'm on Zoom. It's a horrible affliction. So that's a bit of an idea about the service, but to maybe step it down a little bit of a level to think about what are some of the actual tangible things that our that my staff might be doing with young people. So in the initial stage, as I mentioned before, it's really about building that rapport and understanding what existing strengths, skills, and abilities are already there. And as I said, we all have them. We're sometimes just, you know, it's hard to admit that to yourself. So having that supportive person there to be able to go through, you know, those conversations and bring to the fore some of those strengths and abilities that are already there is really important. So a lot of the work that we do is based in that phase of supporting transition on from school to either further work or study. And we know that that's a really tricky time for lots of young people. And so being able to support young people through that transition is really, really important. So a lot of the early stages might be looking at things like skills audits, career quizzes for young people who don't exactly know. And some people who come to us with a really, really clear pathway of where they want to be heading, but others are less clear. And so the specialists that I have on my team might spend quite a bit of time going through those sorts of things and looking at skills audits to be able to suggest some possible career pathways to young people to give them that advice about how they might go down that track. Once that's happened, there's often quite a bit of work in terms of that employment preparation. And so we know that a little bit of this work might be getting done in schools with young people, but a lot of young people are still feeling really unprepared, you know, in terms of developing and refining a resume, working on a really good targeted cover letter that's going to cut through. You know, we know that lots of jobs are getting huge amounts of application these days. So it's really about working with the young person to be able to create something that's really going to stand out. The next step as well too, that it's becoming quite common, and we're doing a lot of this via Zoom at the moment as well too, is doing interview preparation. And so interestingly, lots of interviews these days are being conducted by Zoom. I was actually interviewed for my position via Zoom. So we're really trying to utilize those tools to help people feel comfortable, to be prepared for the sorts of questions that they're likely to be answering, you know, to really kind of build that confidence, so that when the actual, you know, the actual day hits, when you're having an interview for a position, that you're feeling comfortable about those sorts of things. In addition to that, I've already talked a little bit about job applications. The specialist might talk about some strategies for job seeking skills. So, you know, where the relevant places are to be looking, you know, what sort of strategies you might be doing in terms of refining your job searching to make sure you're getting relevant information. Particularly for people who are living in kind of regional or remote areas, it might be a slightly different approach. But one of the things that we're seeing a lot of at the moment is quite a few industries are being taken online as well too. So it would be about potentially exploring options that might mean that you can be living in a regional centre, but applying for a job that's based out of Melbourne or based out of Sydney, but is delivered online. So it's around really understanding the particular context of the particular young person. Another big part of the work we do, and not surprisingly, is providing guidance and support around navigating Centrelink and government payments. And we know that this is a potentially confusing and challenging system to navigate for any of us at the best of times. And so that's, I guess, a real key part of trying to support a young person if they have left school, to see whether they're eligible for any sort of support payments to tide them over until they do look at gaining an employment outcome. And the final point, as I mentioned before, you know, Headspace is a youth mental health organisation, and so a key part of the role is around supporting a young person to balance their mental health and well-being. And we know that unemployment or underemployment is a real risk factor for poor mental health outcomes. And so it's around supporting a young person to go through things like self-care strategies and explore options for support organisations like Headspace centres and other things, to be able to try and balance those two things at the same time. So that's actually all of the slides that I had, and I know that that was a fairly brief overview of the program, but I'm just really keen to know if there's any questions, if anyone wants to know more, if Sam's had an opportunity to make the video work. I might stop sharing my screen for a second.
Hey, Khan, if a young person wanted to connect with the digital program, do they call a phone number, and is it via phone, or is there an online like Zoom style thing? How do they connect with the digital work study program?
That's an incredibly good question, and a slide that I neglected to put in my presentation. So there's actually a number of different methods. And so a young person, so people can self-refer. They don't need to necessarily go through any other external services. And so on the Headspace website, we've got a 1-800 number that they can call to have a chat with one of our support officer to talk about the program. There's also a registration of interest form, which is really, really quick and easy. And so if you go onto the Headspace website and look on the work and study page, you just simply click a link, put a couple of details into a little survey question there, and then someone will call back to have a bit of a discussion about the program. So it's incredibly simple. The other way you can also get referred to the program is if you are working with a Headspace Centre and you've got a clinician there, you can have a bit of a chat with them and they can make a referral as well too.
Yeah, lovely. Such a fantastic program. I know myself, sometimes sitting there writing a cover letter is just so daunting. You don't know what to put in there. And then you're trying to write a resume and you're thinking, is this font too fancy? Or, you know, am I supposed to be putting a picture on it? So you guys are really up with it and current in regards to what employers love to see in regards to applications. It's just
absolutely
a service.
Absolutely, and the service is also one of the benefits that we've got is that we're able to do a little bit of that work with employers to look at where we can get access to vacancies or even generating certain vacancies as well too. So yeah, it's an incredible service.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that, wouldn't I?
I think just navigating all that sort of thing, like interviewing skills and finding jobs and being connected with organisations, just having that middle person there, such as the Headspace digital work study program, is just such a good way. Now, I think we're getting some questions coming through.
I do think so. Yeah, fantastic. Do you want me to read that one out? Or you got it?
I'm actually looking towards doing counselling and youth type jobs such as Headspace. Woohoo!
Fantastic.
And as I've been through them myself and I know how much it can help, that's awesome. So lived experience. Will we be able to help with doing that? Yeah. So, Khan.
Look, I share your excitement in the answer to that. So I'm a youth worker by background, and always really excited to talk to people about considering a career path in this sort of work. Absolutely. And so one of my team was telling me the other day that they'd just recently placed one of the young people that they were working with into a youth work course to do some study, to look at some placement options, and also to look at future employment. So regardless of the career path, absolutely, but particularly for things like that.
Yeah, lovely. From a local perspective here at Headspace Horsham, I think it's Kane, is it? I talked about at the start, we've got a youth reference group here at Headspace that meet once a month. Now, if you don't live in Horsham, that's okay, because we can do it via online. So we're doing Zoom as well as people that live outside of Horsham can't make it into the centre. And that just gives you some experience into running events, getting a nice look at the industry itself, being a part of such things as like a consortium meeting where you're meeting other organisations locally like Uniting, you're meeting CEOs from Grampians Community Health, the Sexual Assault Family Centre, and all those sort of wonderful organisations that you could potentially be employed at locally. And then if you're looking to ship on out of Wimmera, Khan certainly would have those connections with the organisations outside of this area.
Absolutely. And can I just say, as somebody who employs quite a lot of youth workers, I think having that experience, having been a part of something like a youth advisory committee and really shown that commitment to the work, that sort of experience is so crucial. So I'd really strongly suggest and taking Blue up on that opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I've just popped my email in the chat. So feel free to contact me and I can send you more information on the youth reference group.
Fantastic.
So you live in Neil. Wonderfully. Oh, you can make it into Horsham. That's cool too.
Perfect.
So, you can come into Horsham. We usually meet from 5 till 6 o'clock once a month. If you're not feeling like you can make it into town, we can do, oh, hey, Corey. We can do it via this Zoom. So Corey has just jumped on the chat. Corey's actually one of our youth reference group. So she's singing praises. It's a really rewarding and fun experience. Thanks, Corey.
Fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
I just dumped the link to the website as well too, which has got all of the different ways that you can access our program into the chat as well too. But yeah, fantastic.
Good.
I think we've only got a couple more minutes, but are there any other questions or anything anyone else would like to know or talk about?
No. Do you do mock interviews as well, Khan?
Yeah, look, thanks for feeding me that one, Lou. That's absolutely what we do. So our sister program at Headspace National is the industry mentoring program, and so we, in addition to helping young people, explore career pathways, we can also look at linking them up with industry mentors, and so that's people who actually are working full time, potentially in the industry that a young person might be keen on working in, and so we can set young people up with that to have that sort of mentoring relationship. But we also do a number of times a year run mock interview sessions, and I know that's probably fairly common in a lot of particular areas through the lens as well too. But yeah, we find there's such useful exercises to go through, because it really, for some young people, that's the first opportunity they've ever had to be in that situation where they're having to have those conversations with somebody who they don't know, but to get some of those nerves out and to get the preparation for actually having a real interview is incredibly useful. So yeah, so that's a big part of the work that we do.
And say you just do not want to attend uni at this stage, uni's not sort of on the cards, you sort of just want to get out there and work, you can assist with those type of jobs as well, where education
Absolutely.
is not paramount.
Absolutely. And I guess that's the kind of, again, that strength of that personalized approach. We're not trying to suggest this is the one pathway that all young people need to go down. It's about listening to them and understanding their context. So if they if they live in Nil, then the options are going to be different for them to a young person who lives in Broome, you know? And so absolutely looking at entry level positions to help them start getting a bit of a leg up into the particular area that they're looking at, for sure. All of the pathways, there's no wrong pathway.
Yeah, great. Good one. Lovely. So it may be that they, someone may be searching for a job locally within their local area, whether it's Nil or Japaran or anything like that, or they could be looking at, what am I trying to say? Moving away as well. So they might be wanting to move to Melbourne, and they're really interested in graphic design and wanting to sort of work within that space and get some experience. So they might try maybe a receptionist job or something like that in a graphic design business or something like that. Would that be sort of along the lines? What other sort of jobs do people applying for within your program? Look, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. It's got to happen at least once. It's incredibly broad, you know. The range of career paths that we find is really exciting and amazing. So it's the whole gamut. But yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying, the other thing that there's a benefit of engaging with our services is that our specialists are then able to engage with local stakeholders as well too, and have some of those conversations on young people's behalves if that's what they're wanting. So that could be around engaging with training providers or engaging with key employers to find out what options there are as well too. So yeah.
Lovely. Sam's playing our Oscars or Emmys music, and
he's winding us up.
He's winding. I can hear the music coming over our voices now. So
fantastic. That went quickly, didn't it?
Bit of wind up. Thank you everyone for joining in, and you know, hope we wish you all the best in regards to what career paths you might be thinking or taking. We understand that it's very confusing and maybe sometimes stressful and overwhelming time for you. And we just want to reiterate that Headspace, whether that's at Horsham locally or with the digital work study program, that you would feel supported in moving through your career options. Thank you, Khan, for coming along as well.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having, and happy to chat. You've got the details of the program. More than happy to chat to anyone who wants to ask some more questions about the service or potentially get involved.
Fantastic. Thanks, Khan. Thanks, Sam, for hosting.
Thanks, Lou. Thanks, everyone. For the questions.
And Bailey, we got a smile from Bailey as well. Hi. Yeah, wonderful.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Fantastic. We'll wrap everything up now and end the session. Cheers.
Lovely. See you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.